me, baby.
What he said? What did he say?
I did it to myself, trying to get everybody else to laugh and crack myself up.
Everybody give us some ones out there so we can make sure y'all hear us okay.
That's terrible.
Grand Rising, everyone. Mic check 1 2 1 2.
2 2 1 2. My bad, too, Mitch.
Get some ones out there in the chat. We know y'all hear us.
Peace. Grand Rising, everybody.
I said, we ain't asking for no 5s and 10s. We just asking for some ones. Put the ones up.
Put some trouble in it. Put some trouble in it. You sound far off.
Okay, hold on. How about now? Is that better?
2 2 1 2.
Okay.
Mic check. Any better? We closer?
She says a little. Let me go ahead.
Is it TMH or is it all of us? Mic check.
Just
2
a little bit.
She said get closer, TMH. Put the mic on your mouth now.
No, I'm not putting them. Oh, hold on. Let me just turn the volume. Oh, I know what it is. Stop it. I got to change the mic out.
Okay.
Hold on. That's going to be loud.
Hold on. I'm going on mute.
Hold it, man. Grand Rising Ladarian, Grand Rising Copper Colored Queen, Pamela Hall, Afua Jones, Grand Rising, LJ Free, Grand Rising.
What up, LJ?
Really? That's how you going to say it?
What up?
What it do, what it be, what it is.
Okay, so somebody is either sleep deprived.
Yep. Jiddly, you ain't got to get no more choices.
No more choices. Right. How about now? Am I coming in better now?
Am I coming in clear?
Do I sound better now?
Mike TV.
All right, cool. All right. Yeah, I just had to turn the volumes up.
Yeah.
I see a couple of ones and a yes.
All right, cool. So we good to go.
All right. Pamela Hall, peace.
So everybody's doing well this Tuesday rising, I hope. At least that is my wish for everyone.
Peace to the new listeners also. Anybody
Exactly.
that,
New listeners, new subscribers. For those that listen and support anonymously, we definitely appreciate you. What's been going on? How was your days yesterday?
half cut the grass. So I'm about to get up out there right when we done. So that was yesterday.
Okay, so what does half cut the grass mean?
It was half of the yard cut. It was a scorcher.
Okay.
But the other half in the nice rising shade.
He said he gave the lawn a fade. He gave it a fade.
Yeah, look. It was a rough one. It was a first year student over here.
Rough fade. Yeah, rough fade.
I didn't blend properly. It's
He said them edges kind of jagged.
Jagged it.
And we ain't talking about the R&B group.
But yeah, that was my day, TMH. Yes.
Grand Rising Neva Griffin or Neva Griffin, please correct me on how to pronounce it because I don't want to mispronounce it.
Thank you for your subscription yesterday. Peace.
That's Neva Griffin.
It's Neva? Okay, cool.
Griffin. Peace, Neva. Grand Rising.
Thank you for that no sellout. Peace, Neva. Hope all is well. Grand Rising Enrique.
can let the listeners know now at autochthonousassembly.com. We have our own private forum, so we can sign up to, communicate, chat back and forth, create your own profiles, upload your pictures, ask your questions on dealing with genealogy and other questions dealing with particular programs. And again, it's up and running at autochthonousassembly.com, or you can get there from www.aau.world. And also, Autochthonous Assembly Radio is here and active and playing. You can also access that from autochthonousassembly.com as well. So the radio station is active and the forum, so we can start communicating and linking up in our own times, on our own conversations, and don't have to worry about third parties dipping in and out.
And what's the other reason that you decided to go that route, Bones? Because I think some people may be aware, and there are others that are not aware of what's going on with Google Hangouts.
Yeah, basically, Hangouts and all that is changing. October 1st, they'll be completely closed out and something totally different. So instead of waiting for them to start erasing more information, shutting down more servers, we just got ahead of it. So it's ready now.
And how much does it cost to sign up for that service with the radio and the form? How much? Our
favorite 4-letter word is free. Say 6 letters when we say LJ free. What we talking about the 4 right now? Free.
Or 6 for free 99. 99 don't mean nothing. He said free.
Yeah, so the radio station, and basically it's independent music from American Indians. You'll hear between there. A lot of the shows, informative information from Dope for Degrees, TMH, anything that you'll need to help you get through your day will be on the radio station.
Yeah, man. That's what's up. We got a radio station. We got a forum that everybody can sign up for. Man, one-stop shop. Log on to the website, people.
Not to mention 50 free websites to get you started on your genealogy. Yeah, also, every state is broken down to where it lets you know their phone number and their address of who to contact for particular records. Also, there's tips and tricks and hints so when you get stuck on trying to find particular family members. And also a history section if you want to touch up on a little American Indian history.
Man, that don't sound like enough.
Oh, don't worry, the library will be back tomorrow.
Much appreciated.
I know. We also have on the panel the one and only Doodoo Vision.
AKA
James Flame.
AKA
Greetings to everyone. To all the gentlemen on the panel, to those that are in the chat. I'm just here in the cut, ready to get it in.
Grand Rising. Jay, appreciate you being here.
Yeah, Jay's been dropping a lot of info on us, especially about the Arkansas 9. It's gonna be fun, but you're gonna have to get your hard hats on, cause we about to go in. But before we go in, you know we gotta do this PSA. So.
Oh, that's a new PlayStation?
No.
Oh, man, I gotta say, I had the PlayStation 1 and 2.
Public service announcement, man.
I'm like, what? They got a PSA now?
Yes.
I didn't even get the 5.
Did the 5 come out?
Okay.
All right, I'm done this ride. Okay, back to normal.
You're not done, nor are you finished, so don't do that.
And if I'm on the line, I'm sorry. I'm encouraging.
It's all good. That's what we here for. We all here to grow and learn together and give TMH a hard time.
That's a very accurate description of what's going on.
So, Autochthonous Assembly is a nonprofit organization that basically runs the YouTube channel, CAB, Grand Rising Show. CAB stands for Calling All Bloodlines. And our slogan is where the real work gets done. And at the end of the day, it's about the gathering of minds that do the work. That's what Autochthonous Assembly represents. Coming together, getting the work done. At the end of the day, the YouTube platform is a phenomenal platform. It's been very beneficial to a lot of individuals of all backgrounds and walks of life. And I think what it has done on the good side is expose people who would not have been exposed to information because of distance and location. One of the things I think it has harmed in a way is that people have become YouTube celebrities to the point to where those people appear, I'm using the word appear, to not have any connection to their own community. So when we say where the real work gets done, we're talking about getting the work done in your own community. Because those are people that know you. Those are people that can vouch for you. Those are people that can verify that you're actually a real person. You know, you can have conversations without worrying about the government. Listen to you. Get y'all face to face versus being over a virtual platform. So, who are Autochthonous Assembly? We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to raising up Indigenous American voices by using genealogy, also known as family history, aka family tree, which is the study of families and the tracing of their lineage and history. Genealogists use oral interviews, historical records, genetic analysis, and other records to obtain information about a family and to demonstrate kinship and pedigrees of its members. Now, like all organizations should and most do, we have our core values, and they are the foundation of our company, and they are essential to our success and serve as a lens through which we evaluate every business decision. And those core values are, but are not limited to, integrity, which is know and do what is right, respect, treat others the way you want to be treated, responsibility, embrace opportunities to contribute, servant leadership, serve the common good. And as we always like to remind people, Autochthonous Assembly is not here to tell you who you are. We're not here to tell you that everybody's an Indian. We're not here to tell you that everybody is a slave. We're not here to tell you how many people came where. We're here for those individuals that want to connect to their tribe, regardless of what you find out your tribe is. Because at the end of the day, let's be honest, we don't know everybody that's in our family tree. You may have some everybody in your family tree. So you're not going to cut off the limb just because that family member is a African, Indian, Russian, German, Acadian, Huguenot, whatever. So our goal is to help you find out who's in your tree, help you connect to who's in your tree, and if you so choose to do so, help your relatives, your community, and your tribe become self-sufficient. And also, too, one of the things we like to do is, because like all channels that inform and educate, people ask questions. We will always do our best to supply sources that you can do the research on. And if you ask us a question about something, we will provide you that information that will support why it works versus why it doesn't work. So, that's what we're here for. So is there anything that I missed? No sellout while you back there cooking in the kitchen?
I was off mute. No, you killed it. You know you got it every time. Nothing doing. You good.
Shake it like a salt shake.
Like, really? Grown folks, man. Tell ya. Grand Rising, you don't want it. Grand Rising, Elboria.
Peace.
So for those of you who are new to the channel, and I'm trying to figure out why we have this Infiltration of Civil Rights Act up. What we've discovered and what has been brought to our attention based off of written documentation and documentation from individuals that have secondhand knowledge based off of relationships to family members. The civil rights movement was infiltrated by different organizations, which appeared to be under the guise to help our people, when in fact, what the proof has shown up to this point is that they only helped themselves, helped their cause, and left us out to dry. And they're still doing it to this day. When I say they, I'm talking about organizations and groups. Whether it's non-profits, not-for-profits, private foundations, corporate entities, or what have you. So we're going back and pinpointing exactly when it happened, who it was that did it, and how they did it. So this still pertains to us as American Indians, autochthonous people, indigenous people. Because at the end of the day, there's still a war going on against us. It's just being waged different. So, is there anything anybody want to add while I put the link to the chat? Put the link in the chat.
Looking at the chat, trying to see was Carrie trying to ask about the forum, or
okay. What's your
are we
question, Carrie?
mindful about it? I just see you say the forum.
Is there a way somebody can put somebody? Is there a way that we can put the link, the exact link to it? I know it was done yesterday.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
Okay.
I'm doing it right now.
That's what I'm talking about. Y'all be on. You have to register, and what that means is you put your email information in there and the username that you want to use. So you could use a username that you use for all your media, other media outlets. The only reason we use your email is if someone sends you if someone mentions your name in the chat, then you'll get an email. Or someone sends something to you, you'll get an email. You'll be notified. So that's the only reason why we need your email. We would not be using your email to solicit you for anything, to sell you anything. So just want to put that out there as well. Alright.
I paste it back in the chat, and it's the Autonomous Assembly Community Forum. And again, like you said, we can use this forum to ask and address our genealogy questions, our business questions, start building our own community outside of these eyes and mechanisms that can stop us from communicating. So we have our own forum now.
And also, too, for those of you who actually have your own websites, and if you're using what service is that?
Couple WordPress.
Yeah, if you're using WordPress, we can, well, not we, Bones can show you how to access the form, and so you can have your own form on your own website, and either have it attached to your website or away from your website. So. Really, Doodle? No, we will not use your email to register you for Amazon Prime. You're so stupid. Let's get your people. You said you can't pull up what I'm about to read, Pamela? Hold on. I'll put it right back. I'll put it back in there. Apple says y'all funny. We'll take that. We'll take that, Apple. You gotta be funny to do what we do. Alright, so I reposted the link. So if the other link wasn't working, this one should work. Now this is a link to the timeline. And we're covering the 1957, the Little Rock 9, and the Little Rock Central High School integration. So what I would like to do is I'm going to read this part, and I'm going to encourage, in fact, almost demand, although it holds no weight, that Sir James interjects anytime he feels a need to. Don't worry about if I'm mid-sentence or what. I can handle it. And also, too, I know some of you out there have family in Arkansas or that were in Arkansas. And if you know or have family that were in Arkansas this particular time and have some information that you would like to add, you have to call on them for that reason. So, or you can just, like you always do, just post information in the chat. Because the goal is to make sure that we learn and grow together, and we expose this information, and we want to get it right. We're not concerned about being right. So, y'all ready? Y'all got your hard hats on? Let's get it in. 1957. The Little Rock 9 and the Little Rock Central High School integration. So, in September 1957, 9 African American students, of course, in the 50s, they were not calling us African American, they were calling us Negro or colored. We didn't start being called black until the mid-60s. So in September 1957, Negro students attended their first day at Little Rock Central High School, whose entire student population had until that point been white. The Little Rock 9, as they came to be called, encountered a large white mob and soldiers from Arkansas's National Guard, sent by Arkansas Governor Orville Eugene Faubus, blocking the entrance to the school. For the next 18 days, President Dwight D. Eisenhower, Governor Faubus, and Little Rock's Mayor Woodrow Mann discussed the situation. Hold on. They discussed this for 19 days. What was there to discuss? The Little Rock 9 returned on September 23rd, but were met with violence. The students were sent home and returned on September 25th, protected by U.S. soldiers. Although the students were continually harassed, 8 of the 9 completed the academic year. The entire confrontation drew international attention, not only to civil rights in the United States, but also to the struggle between federal and state power. So, again, anybody on the panel, you can jump in any time. But this speaks to some of the information out there that states that the Constitution and federal law supersede state law. If that were the case, if that were true based off of this information, I surmise that there would have been no need for the National Guard, because they wouldn't have been authorized by the Arkansas governor to block the entrance to the school. Because the law was integration was happening based off of Brown versus the Board of Education. So how is it that a governor in Arkansas held these students out for 18 days without any penalty, without any retort, without any consequence? If the Constitution and federal law supersede state law. If someone can answer that question, I'll wait. I'll listen. Grand Rising Oak Cliff Tiff came just in time. Anybody care to address that?
Lady Free had stated it, put it in the chat. It was the state versus the feds. It's always been that way because the way the United States as we know it is constructed, it's about states' rights, not necessarily federal rights.
So why are we always hearing in certain circles and communities that the Constitution supersedes everything, that you don't have to listen to you don't have to listen to state rights or what the state says, because the Constitution is the ruling land of the law, and people ended up in jail because they believe in this rhetoric? Help me understand that.
I'll give you an example of here in the great Republic of Texas, and it's truly a republic, that a few years back, Governor Rick Perry had threatened to secede from the Union. And those abroad started laughing, but they have no clue that he was serious, and two, that he could actually do it. And you'll find out a lot of the states here in the South that were part of the Confederate states still have that right to secede from the Union. So that's why you had these governors standing up at this time and saying, we don't have to listen to you, whoever's in the White House. It's about states' rights, not about federal rights.
Say that one more time, please. Because I want to make sure they heard that. Please say that again.
It's about states' rights, not federal rights. Give you a prime example. Now everyone's talking about the great debate is the legalization of marijuana. Some states it's legal, some states it's not. Think about it. It's always about states' rights. It gets back to property rights, states' rights, and what the Civil War was about. We have gone over this, several weeks ago. For several weeks, we had done it on what were the Confederate states, what were they made up of, and why this took place. It was always about the states' rights, Confederate states. I yield the mic.
And Pamela Hall says, don't every state has its own constitution to follow? Yes, every state has its own constitution. And they govern themselves according to their constitution, not according to federal constitution. And to further confirm, if you will, what James is talking about, there was a website that was created, I dare say about a good 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. It's called dumblaws.com. Dumblaws.com. And this website is dedicated to old laws that are still on the books, meaning that legislation never took them off. And as you see, if you choose to go to the website, everybody's laws aren't the same in every state. They've even expanded to international laws. So if the Constitution was actually the ruling law of the land and every state had to adhere to it or there would be consequences, then every law would be the same. There would be no state law. It would be all federal law. But anyway. Darian Wood says, so why are the feds in everybody's business? Because we allow that to happen based off of certain instances and them tapping into emotions, stuff like weapons of mass destruction and getting certain bills passed, whistleblower organizations and things of that nature. David Corey said states have always fought the government. That's correct. So that was just something I wanted everyone to think about, because at the end of the day, we have to understanding the laws where you live, where you reside. I'll put it that way. Where you legally reside are more important than the federal laws. Not saying federal laws are not important. Just having a better understanding of the laws where you reside are more important. Case in point, like I said, if you live there are some states where you can open carry. There are some states where you can have a concealed to carry. But depending on what state you're in, you go one county over, that could be a felony. So, don't you think it'd be more important to understand the laws in the county and the state that you live in versus the federal government? I'm just saying. That's just... Anyway. Getting back to what we were talking about. So at the end, so what it boils down to, the federal government and the state of Arkansas were at odds. And it says, and I'm reading it because I just put the link in the chat that expanded the Little Rock 9 from the timeline. So the second paragraph reads, during the summer of 1957, the Little Rock 9 enrolled at Little Rock Central High School, which until then had been all white. Okay, so I already read that. It says, warned by the Little Rock Board of Education not to attend the first day of school, the 9 black or colored, which is a word that I'm putting in place of African American. The 9 colored students arrived on the second day, accompanied by a small interracial group of ministers. So let's stop right there. So it was a small interracial group. That means it wasn't just Negro ministers. It was an interracial group of ministers. I'm sure we will find out who those ministers are and what those organizations were. It says they encountered a large white mob in front of the school who began shouting, throwing stones, and threatening to kill the students. In addition, about 270 soldiers of the Arkansas National Guard sent by the governor blocked the school entrance. It says Favors had declared his position to integration and his intention to defy a federal court order requiring desegregation. So here you have a governor defying a federal court order requiring desegregation, and he had stated it openly that he was defying a federal court order requiring desegregation, and yet there was no United States Army to come and take him in and incarcerate him for treason. Anyway, moving on. The confrontation in Little Rock drew international attention to racism and civil rights in the United States, as well as to the battle between federal and state power. Television and newspaper reporters devoted substantial coverage to the Little Rock 9, as the Negro students were called. Again, they put in African American. We know that was not what we were called then. Excuse me. President Dwight D. Eisenhower, Governor Faubus, and Little Rock's Mayor Woodrow Mann discussed the situation over the course of 18 days, during which time the 9 students stayed home. The students returned to the high school on September 23rd, entering through a side door to avoid protesters' attention and wrath. They were eventually discovered, however, and white protesters became violent, attacking Negro bystanders as well as reporters for northern newspapers. The students were sent home, but they returned on September 25th protected by U.S. soldiers. Despite Eisenhower's publicly stated reluctance to use federal troops to enforce desegregation, he recognized the potential for violence and state insubordination. So let's stop right here. The President of the United States was reluctant to use federal troops to enforce desegregation. You might want to ask a question about why. Probably because, and I'm only guessing, and someone can confirm, he was not really concerned about desegregation. But because his constituents thought it was a good idea and would be in his best interest, he went with it. It says he recognized... Exactly.
Trying to get reelected.
And Marlon P. says, don't forget the supremacy clause where state and federal law collide. The feds always win. Necessary and proper clause. Federal government can do anything necessary and proper per the federal constitution. Right. But they didn't. Eventually they did, but at the same time, it has to be so blatant and it has to be so out of line to warrant a state of emergency, or what they call it. What does the president call it when he basically takes control as the commander in chief? Did it come to me? So it goes on to read that Little Rock 9 continued to face physical and verbal attacks from the white students through their studies at Central High. One of the students, Minnijean Brown, fought back and was expelled. The remaining 8 students, however, attended the school for the rest of the academic year. At the end of the year in 1958, senior Ernest Green became the first Negro to graduate from the Little Rock Central High School. Governor Faubus was re-elected in 1958, and rather than permit desegregation, he closed all Little Rock schools. Many school districts in the South followed Little Rock's example, closing schools or implementing school choice programs that subsidized white students' attendance at private segregated academies, which were not covered by the Supreme Court's decision. Little Rock Central High School did not reopen with a desegregated student body until 1960, and efforts to integrate schools and other public areas throughout the country continued through the 1960s. So let's talk about this. And this is the reason why understanding the law is important. So there was nothing that said that the schools couldn't be shut down. It just said that these schools, because they were receiving public funds, had to be desegregated. So what do you do as a business owner?
You're gonna put your money where your interest at.
Exactly. Not only that, but the moment someone tells you you can't do something, as an entrepreneur, you don't focus on what you can't do. You focus on what you can do. So you can create a school of choice, and those subsidies are coming from business owners. So now you have private segregated academies where the school board gets a vote on it, not the federal government.
And ain't the school board a part of the state government?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just checking.
They're elected too. And here's the thing that I cannot emphasize enough. These constitutions, these bylaws, belong to our ancestors. They did not come from the colonizers. But yet you still have people that want to say that this belongs to the colonizer. And if all you have to do is some research to look at how other countries were governed and how they ran stuff, and you'll see that they didn't run stuff like our ancestors ran stuff. But you know. So I'm looking up Little Rock 9 Wiki because I want to see what organizations, what organizations were there to, air quotes, lend support. We already know about the NAACP, right? We already know who headed or founded the NAACP. We know that W.E.B. Du Bois was the token. He didn't found it. He was not the founder.
But he also considered himself a mulatto. Grew up in a majority white neighborhood and went to a white school. Out of his own memoirs, this is his own words.
So,
y'all about to mess some people up here in a minute.
Right.
So Darian Wood said they need some keyboard coming on.
Well, I'm typing. I don't know why y'all can't hear. So I'm gonna send you the link, and we're gonna go ahead and look at what organizations.
Well, Pamela Hall, look at it this way. It's why we broke down the 501Cs in these different government funding programs and how TMH always says, if your bylaws and constitutions are airtight, you're practically doing what you want to do. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but if your bylaws and constitutions are airtight, they can get federal funding and keep people out. Think about it. Private schools do that today. You got private religious schools that if you only people who believe a particular way can go to this school. Same mechanisms.
So let's look at it this way. The reason why you have a lot of entities, whether they are for-profit, not-for-profit, or non-profit, and yes, there is a difference, that actually appear to have autonomy, is because they're minding their business. They have covered every situation to where they don't need any government assistance. And for whatever reason, the government loves to lend money and give money when you don't need them to physically do anything. If as long as they don't have to intervene, they don't have a problem with giving you money. But the moment they have to do your job for you because you're not minding your business, now there's a problem.
Yep.
So let's look at the overall scope of this. When our ancestors were here, they were minding their business. They did not get into any trouble until they started doing what? Minding other people's business. That's how they lost their business. Because they were no longer minding their business. They took on somebody else's business and end up losing their business.
Bingo. Sound about right.
Infiltration. Same tactic.
Yeah.
Different time frame. It's no different.
Nothing new up under the sun.
That's why it's imperative to know who you're dealing with. I would like to be in a situation to where we're in this utopia where everybody gets along, everybody can be trusted. I'm talking about skin color wise, and we all on the same team and in the same game. That has never happened, and that will never happen because you have some people that just are selfish. And that's something that you have to accept. You know, if you do business with a snake and get bit, whose fault is it? Yours or the snake? You knew it was a snake. You did business with it, got bitten. How you gonna get mad at the snake? That makes no sense to me. Or
you bought that on the sale.
Or if you doing business with a snake and didn't do your due diligence to determine whether it was a snake or not, and then get bit, you still can't get mad at the snake. The responsibility is always on us. It's always our responsibility to do and find out the pertinent information before we take that step. No one has ever pushed us into anything. No one has ever made us do anything. Again, if we're going to claim to be first at everything good, we must accept the responsibility of being first at everything bad. Now, I know that stings, but we can't have it both ways. We can't be so smart on one hand and then so stupid on the other hand. Doesn't make sense. So if you mind your business, government leaves you alone. Unless you start interfering with their business. And that's another story for another day. David Core says, minding our business what we've always done. Just not reading much. Tricked. Well, David, look at it this way. As you see how the infiltration happened with the civil rights, I'll put it this way. We were lazy and accepted that everybody was on the same accord and got comfortable because somebody else was doing the work. And to make the assumption erroneously that it was going to benefit everybody.
I mean, go back to the Indian Wars with Joseph Brant and them. We chose people that look more European to speak for us. Instead of us speaking for ourselves, we chose others to speak for us. That alone is a problem. Because how somebody else outside of you is going to have your best interest in mind. We still do it now. We let people that we don't even elect, that we don't even care for, speak for us. That's why we say we have to get involved on our local levels to start making change. If the people that sit in these seats don't have your best interest in mind, then it's time to start activating and start putting people in place that do to replace them. It only takes 30% of us to do this. 30% of us as a whole switch any direction. There goes any election at any given time, in any point in history.
Sounds about right to me. But you know, what do I know? Doodle Vision said Mrs. Diane Nash instead of Salt. Mrs. Dash was allowed to lead because so many Negroes were scared. Pamela Hall says, but you have to realize one thing, it's all in how you use your words. Well, Pamela, you are absolutely right. And also, too, in addition to that, it's not about so much what you say, it's more about what you do. Because I know, we all know people that's good with the word game. But when it comes to the action, they get ghosts. People respect action. You know? And I know some people that's got some, you know, they wax words of wisdom. But it end up being a bunch of wild wishes left in the wind. Because they leave. When it comes time to do something, they get ghosts. They disappear. Or they make excuses.
I mean, to be honest, the majority of our people got comfortable. And you know how? That they can still use these same mechanisms to strike this emotional outcry from us. Show us something that get us emotional, then we react the exact same way that they want us to.
They need you to speak up. I'm gonna see if I can turn your mic up. Hold on. Go ahead and say something.
Might take 1 2 1 2.
I can hear.
Why do they have to advertise the shooting of one of our young men and women on television for us to activate for anything? Because we got comfortable. There's no way around that. We have to get to the point to stop being reactionary and start acting first. Stop waiting for someone else's action. Stop waiting for someone else to do it. That true indeed is not easy, and it's not supposed to be easy because it wasn't easy getting into this mess. So by no means it should be easy to get out. But there's proof in front of our faces that every day, accessing these same mechanisms that were used to keep us away is the same way we come back. We just have to do. But do for ourselves. Stop letting other people use our energy. That's the one thing I take from all these stories we read, that how many times our energy got sucked away from us for somebody else's cause, somebody else's movement.
So Grand Rising, Patrick Gable. So let's talk about how the Little Rock Nine got infiltrated. Ladarian Wood says, "Man, that's true. I don't care what happens. We don't do anything, say anything about nothing. But let be somebody killed on the news and everybody, man." Exactly. Why do we have to wait for somebody to get killed? Why is it that we can't police our own streets? Why is it that we can't have our own security? If you're in a HUD zone, you do know that you can have your own security force, right? You can police your own streets because you're providing a service to the people. And if you work with your local police department, work with your mayors, I don't think they're gonna have a problem with that. But then again, because I'm gonna say it, people scared. People that talk the most about Europeans are the people that are most scared of Europeans. They're scared of their government officials because they're the ones that's on the run. You so big and you so bad, but you ain't left your state in 10 years. Or you ain't never been outside the country. Our ancestors went everywhere. They weren't confined to anywhere. So how you indigenous, Breaking Bad about being an Indian, and you stuck in your city? Come on, man. You can't even go anywhere, but you stuck. But you bad. You a renegade. Man, go sit down somewhere. Meet me in Spain and then see how much of a renegade you are. Oh, that's right. You can't go because you ain't got no passport.
Oops.
Oh, but you don't need it, right? You don't need it to travel, right? You just be able to hop on a plane and do what you want to do. Anyway, getting back to the infiltration. It says, after the decision, we're talking about the board versus the Brown versus Board of Education. I'm on the Wikipedia page of the Little Rock Nine. I'm going to put it in the back in the chat. Excuse me. It says, after the decision, the National Association of the Advancement of Colored People. We all know who started that, right? Attempted to register black students in previously all-white schools in cities throughout the South. Now, this is an organization of racially mixed individuals. They're the ones that started registering Negro students in previously all-white schools. It was the NAACP that decided to do that. So think about that for a second. In Little Rock, Arkansas, the school board agreed to comply with the higher court's ruling. Virgil Blossom, the superintendent of schools, submitted a plan of gradual integration to the school board on May 24, 1955, which the board unanimously approved. The plan would be implemented during the fall of 1957 school year, which would begin in September 1957. By 1957, the NAACP had registered 9 black students to attend the previously all-white school, the all-white Little Rock Central High. So here's the thing. It was the NAACP who registered these 9 children. These 9 children, they get registered by their families. I'm not just saying.
That's something to start thinking about. That's something to really start thinking about. What was the NAACP benefit for registering and doing this? What was their agenda? Because the parents ain't out crying about it and signing children up for it.
So let me explain something why things like this happen. It's called recruiting. Recruiting to push an agenda. Doesn't that happen in college? Don't you get recruited? And then once you're in college, you get recruited by sororities and fraternities. Ain't that what happened?
Yep.
And then once you graduate from college and end up going to work, then you get recruited some more?
Yep. And normally these same sororities and stuff help you get particular jobs and positions. And these sororities have particular belief systems.
Okay, just checking. So if I do you a favor and I help you out of your situation, now your allegiance is to who? The person that helped you or the person that didn't help you?
Ha ha.
People better start studying these Europeans and stop talking smack, calling them colonizers, but you too scared to study what they do, but you act like you know what they do when you really don't. By 1957, the NAACP had registered non-black students, right? And it said, now here's a kicker. Again, everything is important to read for understanding. Forget comprehension. You need to understand what you're reading. How were these children selected? Why were these 9 children chosen? Right? And understanding that the school board had already been in place since the early 1900s for the specific purpose of what? Making employees. And then out of those employees that came out of college specifically, then you could put them in certain places to get them to do other things and potentially be what? Part of the boule. Hide certain secrets. I don't know. That's just my thought. So it says, selected on the criteria of excellent grades and attendance. Excellent grades and attendance. Meaning that they were indoctrinable and they always showed up. They were indoctrinable and dependable. Called the Little Rock Nine, they were Ernest Green, Elizabeth Eckford, Jefferson Thomas, Terrence Roberts, Carlotta Walls Lanier, Minnijean Brown, Gloria Ray Karlmark, Thelma Mothershed, and Melba Pattillo Beals. Ernest Green was the first Negro to graduate from Central High School. When integration began in September 4th, 1957, the Arkansas National Guard was called to preserve the peace. Originally, at orders of the governor, they were meant to prevent the students from entering due to claims that there was imminent danger of tumult, riot and breach of peace at the integration. However, President Eisenhower issued Executive Order 10730, which federalized the Arkansas National Guard and ordered them to support the integration on September 23rd of the year, after which they protected the Negro students. So originally, the Arkansas National Guard were there to prevent the students from coming in here. And then after 18 days, President Eisenhower decided to execute executive order. Y'all remember what executive orders are, right? Does the president need the House and the Senate to establish an executive order? And if not, why not? I'll let that linger. So, what we have so far is the NAACP registering the students into Little Rock, Arkansas, based off of a criterion of excellent grades and perfect attendance. Now, what do y'all think is going to happen? What do y'all think happened to these individuals after they graduated from high school? What do y'all think happened to them? Though, for those that basically told the line and did what they were suggesting. Anybody?
I was already reading them. A lot of them went to work for the government later on in their careers. Some of them served on presidential boards. One became the treasurer of the NAACP.
What?
Another one got a master's in social welfare and went into television.
Handpicking puppets to protect their pockets. Something to think about. So let's look at the Blossom Plan. The Blossom Plan is under the contents of the Wikipedia page of Little Rock 9. I'll repost it in the chat for those of you who are just getting in. We're talking about the infiltration of the civil rights movement and how our energy always gets used against us because we never use our own energy for us. nor the mechanisms that were left in force by our ancestors. So, one of the plans created during attempts to desegregate the schools of Little Rock was by School Superintendent Virgil Blossom. The initial approach proposed substantial integration beginning quickly and extending to all grades, within a matter of many years. This original proposal was scrapped and replaced with one that more closely met a set of minimum standards worked out in Attorney Richard B. McCullough's brief. This finalized plan would start in September 1957 and would integrate one high school, Little Rock Central. The second phase of the plan would take place in 1960 and would open up a few junior high schools to a few Negro children. The final stage would involve limited desegregation of the city's grade schools at an unspecified time, possibly as late as 1963. So, there was a plan in place. Did anybody ever stop to think of what the purpose of the plan was? And why that plan was even put there in place? What was their agenda?
Like you said, to start implementing the program, to start recruiting, to start changing the mindset and the thinking. We can take it all the way back to the birth of the schools and the superintendents, who were Indian agents with the mission of getting the Indians to conform more to a European-like lifestyle. To sum it up,
They needed somebody to help them build their system like we built ours. Because remember, we had already been taken off the reservations, or we had already been taken off our land. So then we was like, all right, we don't need our land. We'll form companies and we'll form businesses and we'll work together. Then they bomb that and separate that and run highways through that. Then they start putting us in schools and separating us. So they realized that they couldn't just segregate us, because if you segregate us and separate us from them, we win. I mean, and I'm not saying it as disparaging. I'm saying it just by looking at the history. When we were minding our business, we had no issues. They could not survive without us. If you look at any business structure, you look at the majority of the businesses that are run, we're in the mix somewhere.
And mainly when it comes down to providing the service to.
Businesses have gotten so sophisticated now that anything that you do during business time, any ideology that you create belongs to them. They don't need to promote you because they got your ideas because you're on their clock and their time. Now, I'm not instituting and saying everybody need to quit their jobs. What I'm saying is they never need to promote you because all your ideas belong to them. Well, as long as you're on the clock. When you sign on to take that job, and you probably didn't read the contract, you're basically giving all your intellectual property to them. And in some cases, the moment that they issue you a laptop, a cell phone, that extends to your house or extends to everywhere that you go. So they needed us to help run their businesses. They needed us to help run their banks. They needed us to run their systems. But in order for them to do that, they needed us. So what's the best way to get us to help them? Integrate.
Yep.
Where did they learn that from? Where did they learn integration from? It couldn't have been them Huguenots, could it?
Mm-hmm.
You messing the people up today.
Case in point, this is something I always find interesting. Before sports got integrated, right? You had the Negro League in sports, right? There have been times Babe Ruth won't hit home runs off no everybody, and he won't strike no everybody out. But when you integrate the sports,
I think we got kicked off the air.
Kicked off the air. Let's see.
It's still running on my end.
Yeah, we're still running too. We probably need to refresh. Hold on. Give me a second.
Yeah, Free said is back.
Okay. So when sports was integrated, then what happened? We started to take over. Then it became big business.
Yep. All the goods and merchandise.
Think about this. When did golf or tennis become big business? I'll wait. I'll wait.
Tiger Woods, y'all.
Do y'all realize Serena Williams is 38 years old and still kicking people's butts?
We are the market.
That's right, Arthur Ashe. Arthur Ashe was the predecessor. He was the first one to break the color barrier. You see what they did to him? So if that works from the standpoint of physicality, we're just as potent mentally as we are physically. That's right, Enrique. There's a new 15-year-old that's on fire.
I've seen a couple of highlights of her.
So all I'm saying is, let's stop allowing others to use our energy and our intellect to benefit them. And let's use it to benefit us. And I'm not saying desegregate. That's not what I'm saying. Take care of your community. Take care of your relatives. Take care of your tribe. Whatever tribe that is, you take care of that first. Because you're not any benefit to anybody unless you take care of your house first. Unless you take care of your community first.
That's it. Brother Thomas, you just recently took a trip on a plane. When they give the emergency instructions, what do they tell you in case the oxygen bag drops down? What do they tell you to do?
They tell you to put it on yourself first before you put it on your child.
I don't need to say any more.
Grand Rising, Jeffrey Gordon. Put yours on first.
Glad you made it, cuz.
Take care of home first. Take care of your community first. If we take care of our homes and our communities first, we'll never be second. Just a thought. So let's continue with the Blossom Plan, shall we? So it says the original proposal was scrapped and replaced with one more closely met and set up with minimum standards. Okay, so I read that already. So going on to the second paragraph of the Blossom Plan. This plan was met with varied reactions from the NAACP branch of Little Rock. Militant members like the Bates opposed the plan on the grounds that it was vague, indefinite, slow moving, and indicative of an intent to stall further on public integration. Despite this view, the majority accepted the plan. Most felt that Blossom and the school board should have the chance to prove themselves, that the plan was reasonable, and that the white community would accept it. No, the Blossom plan was not about a big-nosed girl. This view was short-lived, however. Changes were made to the plan, the most detrimental being a new transfer system that would allow students to move out of the attendance zone to which they were assigned. The unaltered Blossom plan had gerrymandered school districts to guarantee a black majority at Horace Mann High and a white majority at Hall High.
Oh, so by design, then, this was done. Oh, this wasn't people choosing. This was design.
So let me restate that. This view was short-lived, however. Changes were made to the plan, the most detrimental being a new transfer system that would allow students to move out of the attendance zones to which they were assigned. So that means if you were assigned to a zone, you no longer have to stay in that zone. It's no different than your child wanted to go to. Your child is a great football player, basketball player, whatever. But the school zone that you live in, they teams suck, and you're not gonna get any recognition. So you find a way to go to that other school, whether you live with somebody's cousin or you use somebody's address. Same thing, except for this was done from the school board's perspective. The unaltered plan had gerrymandered school districts to guarantee Negro majority at Horace Mann High and a white majority at Hall High. This meant that even though black students lived closer to Central, they would be placed in Horace Mann, thus confirming the intention of the school board to limit the impact of desegregation. The altered plan gave white students the choice of not attending Horace Mann, but didn't give black students the option of attending Hall. This new Blossom plan did not sit well with the NAACP, and after failed negotiations with the school board, the NAACP filed a lawsuit on February 8, 1956. This lawsuit, along with a number of other factors, contributed to the Little Rock school crisis in 1957. So here's the situation. The white parents didn't want their kids going to school with Negroes. So therefore they could choose not to go to Horace Mann High and choose to go to Hall High, because our ancestors accordingly decided to listen to the NAACP. We was like, it's a great idea to integrate. So our children don't have a choice. Now remember, whose idea was this? I'll wait. Was it the parents' idea?
No.
Was it the state's idea?
No.
Oh, okay. The NAACP, huh?
Aha.
Free says a violation of separate but equal.
For the group of people saying that they're representing you.
Y'all got to understand the whole purpose of integration was to prevent another Negro Wall Street. Period, point blank in the discussion.
Yep. If you can't beat them, join them, or find a way to make them join you.
Because think about this, for those of us who have children. Your children are going to a school, they settle, and if they're not being bullied and they already have friends, do they really want to go to another school if you're moving? Especially for those of us that were in the military? Or if you move because of a job, do your children really want to leave where they're at, or do they want to stay? So we know that,
stay where they're at.
right? So we know that it wasn't the children's idea for segregation. For integration. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just backing up what you were saying.
Oh. So who was integration really for? Because you look at the early 1900s before integration, we already had organizations. We already had women graduating from college and getting degrees and being self-sufficient. We already had Negro men that were lawyers, that were already professional and self-sustaining. Why would we need integration? I'll wait.
You're messing up people's philosophy today.
And like Doodle Vision said, the Ku Klux Klan, think about this. If they were so, and here's the thing that we don't do enough thinking. If they were so emboldened they would not touch, why would they need masks on their face? Why would they need to hide their identity? Who they hide their identity from? And why was they doing everything at night? Because I'm here to tell you, you're not burning no cross in my yard and I found out who you are and I'm not coming back at you. I'm clapping back at you. The only way I can't clap back at you if I can't see you. Well, I don't know who you are. So they couldn't have been that bold if they were hiding their faces. They were scared. I better wake up. The Klan wasn't running roughshod like everybody think they were. Yeah, they bombed the house, but when it was found out who did it, there was some comeuppance. Know that to be true. You don't bomb Oklahoma because you're winning the fight. Think about that. I'm gonna say it again. You don't bomb Oklahoma because you're winning the fight. Remember, a lot of those individuals that were in Oklahoma were Indians, and they were soldiers. And a lot of those Europeans had never been in the military, and they were immigrants.
Like you said, there was a whole lot of us who came back from fighting in these wars.
So let me get this straight: a bunch of immigrants called an airstrike. Where they get airplanes from? Where they get those type of munitions that many of them had never been in the military before? Okay. Integration was done for the sole purpose of keeping us from having another Negro Wall Street. Because at the same time, if you do your research, you'll start to see that children were leaving the farms, and a lot of our ancestors lost their land because they didn't have the manpower to work that land. If I'm not mistaken, that's how Atlanta became the capital of Georgia when once it was Milledgeville. Now, the only thing that's in Milledgeville is a bunch of daggone institutions.
Yep. I wonder who's in them.
You ain't gotta believe us. Do the research. Just talk to some of the elders in your community, and they'll tell you that a lot of these areas were black owned, and then all of a sudden, people got moved out. Happened during the 50s. What else happened in the 1950s? Wasn't there a highway built?
Yes, there was. Mainly right through the center of a lot of our communities.
A highway was built, and then where most of us end up being moved? To the other side of the tracks, right?
But they intentionally hide them blacks.
Who built them tracks? Oak Cliff says on the other side of the river. So what else? What else can we talk about? What else can we find out? So we know the NAACP was instrumental in all of this. So let's talk about the National Guard blockade, shall we?
Let's do it.
It says several segregationalist councils threatened to hold protests at Central High and physically block the black students from entering the schools. Governor Orville Faubus deployed the Arkansas National Guard to support the segregationists on September 4th, 1957. The sight of a line of soldiers blocking out the students made the national headlines and polarized the nation. Regarding the accompanying crowd, one of the 9 students, Elizabeth Eckford, recalled, "They moved
Hold
closer."
on, right?
Go ahead.
The state sent the National Guard. So the state backed the separate, right?
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Grand Rising, James Gilmore. We are on the Little Rock 9. Talking about infiltration of civil rights. Who was it really for? We're at the National Guard blockade on the second paragraph, where it's quoting Elizabeth Eckford. It says, "They moved closer and closer. Somebody started yelling. I tried to see a friendly face somewhere in the crowd. Someone who would maybe help. I looked into the face of an old woman and it seemed a kind face. But then I looked at her again and she spat on me."
Can we put a comma right there? Because I want y'all to notice something, that the NAACOOs left these children, I'm going to say again, children to fend for themselves. They weren't out there with them. Think about it.
Right, because she says, "I was looking for a friendly face somewhere in the crowd. Someone who maybe could help." So that means the NAACP was not there. Even though it was their idea. So do we need to go revisit who was in charge of NAACP at that time? So let's put this in proper context. So, we see who was aboard. So remember, Moorfield Story, Mary White Ovington, and W.E.B. Du Bois. Where were they at? Where were they? Remember, they were the ones responsible for all this. So, the board of directors at that time consisted of Moorfield Story, from Boston, the national president, chairman of executive committee, William English Welling, who was European, treasurer, John E. Holland, he was European, dispersing treasurer, Oswald Garrison Villard, he was European, executive secretary, Francis Blascore. It doesn't even say what she was. And then director of publicity and research. Whoa, stop. Didn't I tell y'all he was a token? His title is director of publicity and research. I'll wait.
What were they researching?
So, W.E.B. Du Bois, I'm gonna call him Du Bois, was director of publicity and research. He was an errand boy. You the face, and we need you to go look up something, we send you on an errand. Don't get mad at me.
They'll send you out to the communities with these folks so you can get intel and information. Man.
So here's a question. What was their agenda? Because like James said, they left them kids out there by themselves. They were kids. Who's gonna leave there? Who's gonna let their child be out there in all that mess? Most parents up in arms when you correct the child and you the neighbor. You gonna let a bunch of white people deal with your children? Here's another thing. Why were the parents not allowed to walk in with their students, with their children? Did you mean to tell me that your child is going into an integrated school? You know how white folks feel about you, and you just gonna let your child walk in there by themselves?
And I'm like you, TMH. All this going on, and there's a picture. So the people that's in here watching this, filming, recording this, taking pictures, they didn't, man. Boy, look at here.
Something to think about. The whole world is a stage. The NAACP was not started by any Negroes. The one Negro that sat on the board was the director of publicity and research. You gotta believe me. There are over 56 sources on this Wikipedia page. So,
anyway, they had enough sense to have media and all this stuff there, but no type of protection.
See, now we're thinking. Oak Cliff says, who was the photographer, videographer for the NAACP?
Oh, exactly. Just like on that Rosa Parks. Whoo!
Y'all gonna learn today.
So, get people up in arms. Show people being abused and hurt. Get a movement behind it. Get some laws passed. And then the organizations that started it benefit from it. What does that sound like?
And they walk away.
What does that sound like? Let me ask y'all this one question, and I need y'all to be honest with me. Have any of you known of personally or have experienced being pulled over by a police officer, being pulled out your car and being beaten?
Nope.
I personally don't know of anyone. I don't know of anyone. I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I'm just saying I personally don't know of anyone. I'll let that resonate with you for a while.
Can we all get along?
They got them emotional triggers again. They like using some Hollywood scripts.
Yep.
What were the Indian agent's job besides killing the Indian and saving the man? What was their job also?
Well, they became the school superintendents later on.
What was their job though? Their job was to create a wedge between tribes, to create jealousy, to make these Indians feel a certain way. Now think about this. Is it easier to get you to be emotionally involved when you have alcohol in your system or when you don't have alcohol in your system?
Oh, give me a little liquor. Yeah, act up.
So let me ask you this question. What drug replaced alcohol?
Whoa.
2 letters. T. V. Play the right music, get the right optic, and they can get you to feel any way they want you to feel.
Strongest drug, music. When you hear it, you feel no pain.
And you add that with an optic,
Vibrations.
you can move anybody or anything.
Yes, sir. Change that frequency to 440.1. Oh, let me hush.
Oh, you don't let it out now. Go ahead.
It's why the music got changed to 441. So they can have that frequency to control you a lot more, suggest to you a lot more. Get you to feel a particular way. We all know the fathers are learning this repetition. So if you repetitively hear a song, to you it's just a song, but you hearing it 10 times every day, 365 days a year. Before you know, this song became a part of you. It's a part of the culture. You believe this what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to dress, how you're supposed to act, what you're supposed to have, the images that they show you. Oh, that's the level of success. It's all programming. I'm going to say it again, it's radio and television programming. So who, again, are they programming?
And this doesn't just go to television. This goes to social media. Catering to the lowest vibration in you. Debates, arguments, calling people out. Calling people agents. Starting a bunch of unnecessary drama. Producing nothing, mind you.
Yeah, that's why the music is loud and aggressive. To bring that out of you. Come on, man. We all have been in the club and there's particular songs you hear. You just get this aggressive feel, this aggressive vibe over you.
Nuck if you buck. Why? Nuck if you buck. Why does that
whole floor get shut down?
hey, Bones. Now you know this. You do because of what you do. Why does the majority of our hip hop music that are hits have that Jason Voorhees ring to it?
It's that cadence. It's that cadence that's going to trigger that emotional rush in you, where you get aggressive and you just, ooh. Then you put the words on what the words suggest. Anybody looking at you crazy right now can get it. You get what I'm saying? I mean, and you on alcohol. Y'all don't see the program and design. How they've been using the same program that they used on our ancestors, they're still using it on us today. The power of suggestion. They just got it so good to where they can hit you constantly all day through social media with it. They done made it so easy, they bringing it to you. You don't got to look for it no more. They bring it to you.
Right, here's the funny thing, David Corey, he said it right. Paid programming. You're paying to be programmed. Oak Cliff says, I call it drive-by tunes.
Don't even know why you mad. Song just said do it.
So here's something I want y'all to think about too. Grand Rise Antonio Baptiste. He says music is a mantra. Pay attention to the mantras you repeat all day. Yeah, he says you're committing that unconsciously.
Yeah, like I'm gonna say it again. The father of learning is repetition. You do anything so many times it becomes a part of you. You might not recognize it has, but it has.
See, it's already been
and not
proven.
saying
Go ahead. Sorry.
and not saying that you're gonna go out and do what the song says. No. After so long, you become desensitized to it. So when it does play out in real life, it's cool to you. It's acceptable because to you and what you were programmed to believe, it's part of the culture. And they got these children thinking it's cool walking around with pants sagging off or pants super tight on them. Come on, man. Just look at it. You can see it play out. People disrespect our women because what's the social images that's portrayed? The leading reality shows, what does it portray? So then the younger girls look at this and they believe, okay, they have to live up to this, to be seen, to be recognized. People who'll never be around you in your lifetime, they see these images, so they take it as, okay, that's how these people really are. And we the main ones supporting it.
Sad, but it's the truth.
Why y'all messing up people's way of life this morning? This rising. Why y'all doing that?
Hey, look, man.
Hey, no, you're right, James. It was a morning for him. That's what it is.
What happened was...
What happened? No, see?
Yeah, LaDarian Wood said, got our boys thinking it's okay to wear a dress.
Even look at what they trying to do at same schools about, oh, a child can choose what sex they want to identify with. Not around here.
By the time, let's look at it this way. Let's look at it from a more practical standpoint. Most 18-year-olds don't even know what they want to do with their life. Nevertheless, what sex they should be by the time they 4 or 5. Come on, man.
You got 25-year-olds that don't know what they want to do with their life. Oh, at 4-5, their feelings. You gonna feel your way up out this room?
Again, we gotta look in the mirror because we allowed that to happen. They're using our stuff on us, and we let it.
And we allow that through people that so-called look like us.
Can't we all just get along? Let's all join the community and get power. Because it's all about power at the end of the day.
Yep.
Whose power are you trying to get?
And all the NAACOOs just keep carrying it on, and it's in the music because now you got what's his name, Lil Yachty, whatever his name is, putting Kool-Aid in his hair and wearing those Venus and Serena beads all in his hair, and y'all thinking as a bill.
Oak
You
Cliff,
got
look,
go ahead.
Oak Cliff Tip said NAACP come get Cardi. Let's look at it from this way. NAACP is the reason why Cardi exists.
Bingo. What they said, the National Advancement of Colored People. What did we find out colored people meant yesterday? It didn't refer to us till after civil rights. So who did they talk about?
So y'all have to follow the script, and I'll give you an example that hit so close to home that it was at my house. Because I learned from my ancestors the whole story. As I gave y'all a little clip again, that my great uncle and my great granddad had conflict with W.E.B. Du Bois in his philosophy, and they battled on numerous occasions behind his philosophy and what they were trying to do with the NAACOs. Their tactic has never changed. Is they would come to a town, come to a city, get people stirred up. They go amongst the local pastors, get the people stirred up, get them arguing. For example, you had a Little Rock Nine. Again, it was the NAACP that got the Little Rock Nine registered as we're standing at today. It was the NAACP that got things going on in Selma, Alabama, with the busing situation that was planned by the NAACP. Another example, what took place, most of you all remember the pool party incident a few summers back in McKinney, Texas. Do you know why the NAACP and the rest of them, Al Sharptongue and Messy Jesse, had no part in McKinney, Texas? I'll tell y'all why after the show. But they were not able to come into town and do those things at all, because the local people said, we don't need you here. We already know what you've done. We know your tactics. You're going to get people stirred up. And after the dust settles, we still have to live here. We're going to figure out and we're going to defend ourselves by ourselves, because you all will go back to Chicago. You'll go back up to New York. You'll be on your syndicated news show, and you'll talk about it. And then next year, you'll talk about the anniversary. And that's all you're going to do. I yield the mic.
So, we got to really start paying attention to stuff. Someone comes into your neighborhood and you don't know who they are. They start telling you about your neighbors. You might want to pay attention to who they are. Who are they and why are they in your neighborhood? What's the purpose? What are they doing? What's their mission? What's their plan? What's their exit strategy? We stop asking questions because we got indoctrinated. And now we have conscious community individuals using those same tactics of indoctrination on us, and we still falling for it. We're not asking questions. We're not asking for verification. We're not asking for proof. We just accept it. How long are we going to continue to do this before we realize and wake up that, if I can't put my hands on you, you don't exist to me. So why would I listen to anything you got to say? If I don't know what your intent or your goal is, and everything is secretive with you, you probably not for my best interest. But just because somebody look like you, and they sound like you, and y'all appear to be on the same fence, they just got carte blanche into your life and access to your wallet and your time. If that ain't indoctrination, I don't know what is. blindly following something without making somebody verifying something is indoctrination. Think back to when you was in school. The first thing they taught you to do was get in line, i.e., stay in your lane. Sound familiar? Y'all gonna wake up and realize one day. Hopefully it won't be too late.
Man, if y'all don't mind, may I read a little clip from W.E.B. Du Bois?
Please do.
If y'all just give me a little liberty here. I want to read something right quick.
Go ahead.
This is his response to the great exodus of those from the south to the north. And here's what he says. This is his own writing. He's writing to what he says of black Philadelphians at the time. He said that these people, well, we are as a people, are divided into 4 groups. He says congregants of these 4 groups are the well-to-do, which attend the Presbyterian, Episcopal, and congregational churches. He said the working class strivers, they attend the Baptist and Methodist. He said the working poor, sometimes unemployed, who may attend Baptist services, but not regularly. And then you have the criminal element. And he said the criminal element are the poor, uneducated, Southern people that are carried north. And he had an issue with those of us that were in the South. He separated himself from those that were in the South. A direct response was from my great uncle, because he was upset. He was pastor in Mount Olivet Baptist Church in Chicago at the time. But being from the South, he wrote him a letter and clapped back. I'm not going to go into detail on that. I'll put it in the back chat. But there were some others that were saying, hey, from the South, that said, all we need is a chance. So this was W.E.B. Du Bois' way of keeping stuff stirred up in the South and trying to make things better in the South. So you uneducated, poor Negroes in the South will stay in the South and won't come up north. That was his master plan. That's why he was doing what he was doing. So anybody that thinks, or anybody that you know that sides with him, you got to start looking at them sideways and ask, why would you support anything like that? Why would you have that mentality? But they did. They thought that those of us from the South, that we were stupid, uneducated, and we're going to bring about that criminal element. Now, fast forward to today, what do they say about all of us now? We're part of that criminal element. You're in the ghetto, you're in the hood, you're in the urban areas. See how they use those same buzzwords, code words that they use today? But man, I wish that we had more time, because I really wanted to get in a particular owner that had ties to the Little Rock 9 football owner. But I'm going to yield the mic.
Oh, we still got, all right, bro, we can roll at 10:30. It's on and popping. Let's do it.
I'm trying to get out of here. He ain't trying to get out of here. I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's do it.
So let's look at the time frame that we're dealing with. We're dealing with late 50s, early 60s. We're dealing with Little Rock, Arkansas. There have been some prominent people to come out of Little Rock, Arkansas, but these are some of the, well, let's say prominent Europeans or prominent ancestors of colonizers. How about that? That were there at the Little Rock 9 incident, who were opposing the Negro children. Can anybody take a guess? Got 4 seconds. Let's do it. So, James, floor is yours, sir. Set the stage, please.
Oh, man. Now, we tried to find this photo that has been scrubbed off the internet. And as I always say, that's one of the downfalls of living in a digital age, that things can be removed. So I hope that we have some people still in the Arkansas area, especially in Little Rock. But there's a particular owner of a specific team here in Texas that wears a star on the side of their helmet, that decided to see he and some of his football buddies were going to come from North Little Rock, but you know, it's the same thing. It's just, they call it North Little Rock, but it's all Little Rock. And decided to see what was going on and what was all the fuss about these colors, these Negroes, I won't say the term that they actually used, about why they wanted to try to desegregate the school. Because I don't want to say integrated, because it's still not integrated, because the integrated is to embrace all cultures and way of life, and it's not. It's gone to a particular group of people, specifically those that classify themselves as white. So it's desegregated. But there were photos, or at least one photo, of this particular owner of a team that happened to be there, and he said he just wanted to see what was going on. But why would you be on the steps of the school blocking the path of the Little Rock Nine trying to get in? I'll let that marinate for a little bit. And then you ask yourself, why does he take the stance that he has today on certain things? Regarding the national anthem, I'm not going to get into that. But then why does he take the stance to go out of his way to defend the so-called Negro athletes, or the African-American athletes today? And if y'all hadn't figured it out yet, I'll let it marinate for a little bit, and then I'll come back to the mic a little later.
Again, there are no isolated incidents. Everything happens simultaneously. You never realize how small the world is until you start asking certain questions and you start looking at certain incidences. Now, let me ask you this. Was it Clinton in that area at the time? Was Bill Clinton in Arkansas at that time?
I thought he was from Arkansas.
Yeah.
What'd you say? Don't sell out.
I said I thought he was from Arkansas. So he would have been in school in Arkansas. Arkansas.
Remember, the NFL is a non-profit. Oak Cliff says his family is there. So he was born August 19th, 1946. So in 1957,
he was 11, and he followed it because his family was there, and he said it very influenced him. I was just reading his memoirs real quick.
On that, they got his age wrong too.
Do they? So he was older than that.
Yes, sir. He was 15.
A little bit more conscious decisions. 15.
So at 15, he would have been high school age, right? At least junior high school. Yeah.
Yes,
remember, who gave the Little Rock Nine their congressional medal? Anybody remember who gave that to them?
Clinton, right?
1999.
One of the saxophone player.
Yep, Bill Clinton in 1999.
Oh, William.
Something to think about, right? Things are a lot more closer they're a lot more connected than we would like to believe.
Yep, because you're gonna find out that Gerald Jones, better known as Jerry Jones, was born October 13th, 1942. Now put it into perspective of September the 4th, 1957.
You one of them kids, man.
Yeah, Bones, you coming in low, bro. He's a little muffled.
One of them kids. And yes, I said kids.
Good.
Yeah, it is wild.
Uh-oh, Lady Freedom stepped on something. You know what she said before, because y'all were doing that, calling him the first black president.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same token, he was the one that instituted the 3 strikes law and privatized the prison system. I yield the mic once again.
Not to mention the NAFTA Act. Him and Hillary super predator. I wonder who face they put on that. Isn't her idol the mother of Planned Parenthood and eugenics, the eradication of all people?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that Hillary Clinton as a model? Woo! They love them though. They're hot sauce.
Well, I keep it in my purse. No, you don't. No, you don't.
All the pieces. I got to go to Fort Smith next week. At the end of the day, Antonio, we've been indoctrinated on so many levels to where, again, the goal is not to tell you this so you to get mad at, the owner of that team, or for you to get mad at the NAACP, or for people to get frustrated with what's going on. The goal is to tell you that if the KKK can have a nonprofit organization and be protected, why can't you?
Huh?
That's all I'm
That's
saying.
a good question.
Because
federal funding to come protest your behind.
And you doing it for free.
Think about that, man.
You protesting back for free.
If you don't fit into the system, they're accessing that to come protest your behind.
Mm-hmm.
Can I throw out this disclaimer to make sure that, because I don't want people to get upset. I'll take a line out of Mos Def from the movie 16 Blocks, when he was on the bus with Bruce Willis when they were getting shot at. I don't know how many of y'all have seen that movie, may want to check it out. When he says, people can change, Jack. People can change. Because remember, hey, he talks about the man with the great baritone, Barry White, and how he used to be a stick-up kid. People can change. So I'm not saying that. I'm saying the way everything and what it is today. So I don't want anyone to say that, he's attacking the owner of the Cowboys and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say there is something in him that caused him to do a lot of things. Because if you all recall, in the 1990s, when the Cowboys were at their peak, there were a whole lot of Cowboys of color. And I'm not talking about the ones that ride horses, the ones on the team, that were getting into legal issues. He was paying their legal fees. Yep. And he's still paying legal fees for current Cowboys today. And he still paid for when Pac-Man Jones used to play here, paid for his security team so he wouldn't get in trouble. paid for Dez Bryant's security team. That's why Dez stopped getting in trouble. But Dez really wasn't getting in trouble. He was hot-headed and put himself in a situation that he shouldn't have been in. His crew should have handled that, but they were too stupid to do it for him. So he was the one getting called out for stuff. And the We Over Me forum, that his connection with Paul Quinn College. So something in him changed him over the years. And I know somebody gonna say about what the national anthem, like I said, I'm not getting into the national anthem because that's a whole nother spiel, and we can do that probably on another show. Or someone wants to send an email to a conscience assembly, and I'll send something out, you all can respond. I don't want to get into that. But I do want to say this, and then I'm going to be done, is when, I'm pleased, and I don't want to be the last one. I don't want anybody to think that I'm trying to defend him at all. I'm not saying that. But the things, if you all recall, and I'm going to say this, the guy that used to own Papa John's, the Papa John's commercial, and he said the racist comments, and Jerry Jones was like, yeah, well, I support him and blah, blah, blah. But behind the scenes, Jerry Jones was the one that forced the former owner and CEO of Papa John's to resign, because Jerry Jones has the majority stock in Papa John's. I yield the mic.
So all this is to say that real power is in action, not talking. Real power is in production, not talking. I don't care how many secret meetings you have with Google or any other apparatus, your cell phone, discussing your plans to do whatever. It's already known, because you don't own the cell phone company. You don't own a communications company. So you're not really doing anything secretive that no one knows about because of the Patriot Act. Not that someone's telling on you, but by law, these entities have to report and give access to the government. So any meetings that you have in the back chat, any calls that you have on any phone service, any communication service, whether it's paid for or whether it's free, you're not hiding anything from anybody. So do me a favor and stop lying to the public. There's no power in deception and lying. There's no power in hiding. There's power in production. What are you producing? I just want to put that out there for individuals that like to have these ideologies or put this information out there like they're really doing something and not doing it. And then they go, well, we're not putting out an information because it's secret. But yet y'all don't get together and meet personally. So how are y'all communicating? Cell phones. Patriot Act. Google Hangouts. Patriot Act.
No secrets.
No secrets. Everything is already known. So you're not doing anything that's clandestine that's going to surprise anybody. So stop it. Just stop it. People are waking up. People are reading and they're understanding. It's about production. That's what power is about, not talking. So let's stop the infiltration, people. Know who you're dealing with. If you don't know their name, their legal name, their government name, you ain't ever visited them, can't nobody vouch for them, you might want to be wary of them. I'm just saying. That goes for anybody. That goes for me. You don't know me. You ain't never met me. But I got people that'll vouch for me. I got a whole county that vouch for me. I got mayors that vouch for me. So what I'm saying is, check the man and or woman to your left and your right before you start aligning with them. Because this is no joke. Watch out for these back chats where everybody's got a back chat with somebody and everybody's got these secret back chats to talk about the people in the groups and everybody got all these splinter groups. That's not tribal. It's not tribal. And for all the renegade Indians out there, this is one thing I dare you to do. Go to any tribe. To pick any of the 573 tribes that are listed, that are registered, or any of the over 1,000 tribes that are registered with the state, and tell them you're gonna take their land if you're such a renegade since you're so bad. Let me know how that works. Oh, and record it. Don't forget to record it. Let's see how much of a renegade you are. What up, Copper Indio? How you doing, bro?
Peace, Papa Indio. What it do?
So what we're starting to see when it comes to this Civil Rights Act is that one of the biggest perpetrators of this mess that is our United States is the NAACP. They were the ones that were instrumental in segregation. Think about that. The NAACP. The majority of the board. Oh, let me go back.
Hello.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 6 members of the board of the National Advancement of Colored People. Out of the 6 members that sit or reside on that board, only one of them is a Negro. And he don't even consider himself a Negro. He considers himself as a mulatto. So there are no Negroes
on this board. Because he said word for word, he identified as a mulatto. And like you said, his job was to do what? The closest one to you, what was his job again?
Director of Publicity and Research.
Sound like entertainment to me.
So here's a question. Did he and Dr. Martin Luther King know each other? Did Dr. Martin Luther King know what his policies were? Or his belief system was? Because, they linked up on a lot of things. And the reason why I asked that question is because at the end of the day, this stuff is going to continue to come full circle. I don't care whether you are associated with a non-profit or a for-profit or not. You better start checking the people that you associate yourself with. Mess around, end up on that BIE list by mistake. Be very aware of who you're dealing with, because you don't know who they dealing with, and who they dealing with might be somebody you don't want to deal with. Know what I mean? I'm just saying.
If fast gets recorded, we learned that yesterday when we looked up the definition of colored people at this time. Mulattoes.
And the NAACP left these 9 children out there in a unsafe environment and state, supposedly, to integrate a school.
But they had a camera crew.
Come on, man. What's really going on? Can't trust anything. Stop trusting everything at face value. Make people earn your trust. I'm not worried about what lane you in. I'm more concerned about what ideology that you coming from, and if you're here to help or you're here to hurt. I don't care about your lane. I care about your name. Who are you? Who can vouch for you? And if you're so busy and so focused on hiding who you are, that's a problem. A big problem. I'm just saying. All this stuff could have been nipped in the bud if people were paying attention to the Nashes and the Minks and understanding what their whole purpose and their whole agenda is, without just accepting for face value and not really understanding who they was dealing with based off of what they heard or what they thought they saw. Again, Nash never got dog sicked on her. She never got beat. She had to demand to be put in jail, but everybody thought she was doing some stuff because indoctrination. Get back to asking those questions. Because if not, when you get asked questions and you don't have any answers, don't get mad you end up in Ghana. And I love you, but I'm not gonna come get you. I'm just saying. David Corey says they really will put you on the BIE list. So James Flames, you said you wanted to come back and share some more information, drop some more bombs. So what you got?
I'll save it for a later time. Like I say, I appreciate you all allowing me to be on the panel, and I appreciate those in the chat. But yeah, I can save it for a little bit later because it's gonna lead to several other things. But I wanted to say you have to know who's who and why. I'll put it this way: if you ever notice that it is certain organizations that try to force us to support certain individuals in our history and others you never heard of, it's the same ones that you will hear over and over and over and over. Why is that? Why are there the others that were counter to what they were trying to do when it came to integration? Because again, those in Little Rock were saying, hey, they're over there, we're over here, we don't want to go over there. They had to convince these families to get these students to go over there. Like I say, same thing when it came to the busing situation. They had to get people involved that were not normally involved. And as we keep discovering that, of course, we already know Rosa Parks was not the first one. This was orchestrated and organized by the NAACP. But the push is to stop those dumb, uneducated, criminal Negroes from the South from coming up north, messing up the mulattoes' game. And that's what it has been before. We had discovered, going back another century, go back. And when all of these chiefs started switching from looking like us to looking like more like what they are today, what was happening? You had these mulatto children and the mothers that were the decision makers on who were going to be the chiefs. They were the ones that said, you can't keep my babies out. And now that those babies got in there, they kicked everybody else out. So now we got to make it right. There has to be sometimes a reconciliation. We have to have these discussions. I yield the mic.
Glad you said that.
All I want to say is beware of those individuals that come with peace, but their actions are not indicative of peace. They say things about people behind their back They'll never say it to their face. They promote rumors. They promote lying. They promote dissension. But in public, they talk about peace and getting along. Come on, man. Let's stop being stupid. Saying about views. Saying about super chats. It's about people's real lives. It's about 7 generations. It's about moving forward.
And it's not about coming up off the people you're supposed to be helping.
Say that one more time.
And your left hand is supposedly helping the people, and your right hand is taking double of what you have given. Something is wrong with that. That is why A2 has been focused on programs, and I wish Lady Danielle was here because she put it so eloquently. Other people's money. You're able to use other people's money because you have sweat equity. Your sweat equity is equal to funding. You put in the work, the funding is there for you. You don't have to have a PayPal. You don't have to have a Patreon. Let me start right there. I don't want people to think that I'm knocking people that have those. I'm saying you don't need those because, again, the people that you're supposed to be helping, if you get information out to the people and then you tell them you have to be a Patreon in order to get the information to help free them, something is wrong with that. I yield the mic.
Or, in order for me to get you out this system to where you can have unlimited amounts of money and resources, I need money and resources. Wait a minute.
1995.
You
Wait,
out
what?
the system. You out the system. So that means you got access to all this money, but yeah, you charge me $2,500 to get access to something where I won't need access to it. So if you're already outside the system and you don't need the money, why are you charging? And if you're outside the
They
system,
want to know if you're serious, I guess.
and if you're outside the system and you can't be touched, why are you hiding?
I see you.
I mean, I know diplomats who pretty much could actually almost commit murder and get away with it. They exist. They got diplomatic plates and everything. So those people do exist. And if you're claiming that you have that type of autonomy and that type of sovereignty, why are you hiding? Because they not. Just something to think about. Something to think about. All I'm saying is this: vet everybody. If you ain't never met them and you don't know them and you don't know, you haven't been. Just vet everybody. Trust nobody. Nobody. Make everybody earn your trust, and you'll stay out of a lot of problems. That much I can promise you. So, no sellout. Is there anything that you want to say before we let these good people get on with their Tuesday this rising? Before we head out.
Man, I think enough was said today. I can't wait till we pick up again tomorrow. Everybody that came out, appreciate you. New listeners, anonymous listeners, people in the chat. If you got any questions, comments, concerns, corrections, email autonomousAssembly@gmail.com. Visit the website. Get your family tree going. If you already got it going, add to it. Tie into your tribes and become self-sufficient. That's the goal. So have a great day.
Copper Indio says, operate as if you have no friends and everyone has to earn your trust. That's facts. James Flames, Doodle Vision, Choctaw Jimmy, we definitely appreciate you for joining us this rising. Is there anything that you want to share with us before we head out?
Once again, I am humbled and thankful that you all allowed me to be a part of this, because you didn't have to. So I always appreciate the invite when you all allow me to come on board. But those that are in the chat, I appreciate you allowing me to entertain you for a little bit. I just wanted to say, man, that's all I can say, that this has been another powerful one. You may have to rewind it and watch it later on. Play it for your kids, play it for your enemies, play it for your frenemies, and everybody in between. You gotta, and I will tell you, if anyone wants to know anything about me, you can find me. My name is George Papadopoulos, and I adopted a little midget kid, and I took him in, and he calls me George. He calls my wife Ma'am and George Papadopoulos. Look it up. Vouch for me. No, seriously. Hey, anybody that's rocking that W.E.B. Du Bois picture up there with Dr. Martin Luther King, JFK, and Jesus, y'all may want to rethink that in your living room and explain to your kids why, especially if you're from the South, but the majority of us are, we have ties to the South. You have to explain to your children why you are endorsing this man when it comes to February. You have to explain why he hated you so much. So I don't know. Again, just because somebody looks like me does not mean that they're for me. Y'all need to think about that. Stop calling everybody that's claiming to be your brother and sister is not your brother and your sister. Because he said straight up, you all of the criminal element because you are dumb and you are poor. I yield this cotton picking mic. Y'all be good to each other.
Now, usually I don't like saying nothing after James say something, but I did a project or a book report in elementary school. I don't remember doing anything about that when I did the W.E.B. Du Bois one. What? He said, what now? No, never mind. I don't. Grand Rising, y'all.
Really? I think I said all I need to say. Make people earn your trust. Everybody. I don't care if they got 1 follower or 1,020,000 followers. Make them earn your trust. Don't stop taking people at their word. Bones, it's on you, brother. Take us out.
On that note, basically remind everyone that on the Thompson Assembly website, there's a forum. So if after the show, if y'all want to get together, you can register, sign up, chat all day, put up your thoughts on genealogy, any questions. The form is on the website. And just a place where y'all can meet, link, ask questions, and don't have to worry about the stuff that's going on with Hangouts and all the foolishness. Now to today's show. All I have to say is it's time for us to stop waiting for someone to do for us and start doing for ourselves. It's time for us to stop going for the okie doke and entertainment and start plugging into these programs and resources to start becoming self-sufficient. It's time for us to start getting our neighborhoods and our individual lives together. What we do today, make sure it stands for the next 7 generations and on. And on that note, it's always good when we get together with the relatives. No place we'd rather be. And until the next show, peace.
Peace, y'all.